2018 has been the bloodiest year in Indian-administered Kashmir in a decade. More than 500 people have been killed, including civilians, militants, and security forces.
Opposition parties have called this one of the darkest days for Indian democracy as the government proposed to revoke the special status enjoyed by Jammu and Kashmir.
India's Supreme Court has upheld a move by the Hindu nationalist Modi administration to revoke the special status of Jammu and Kashmir 3 years ago.
If there is a heaven on earth, it is here, it is here, it is here. A famous quote by the 15th century Mughal Emperor of India, Nur-ad-Din Muhammad Salim aka Jahangir, is enough to define the beauty of Kashmir. To some travelers, Kashmir is the most beautiful place on earth that God has created with care, love, and from the deepest of heart. Another famous quote on Kashmir is enough to describe its beauty to people who loves to experience beauty. Kashmir is that beautiful poetry of God which he wrote while experiencing together the highest form of happiness and deepest sorrow. The valley never fails to amaze tourists, but the worst thing is, this mesmerizing child of God's hand is currently the most dangerous borderline in the world. It is one of the riskiest places where every day is a new adventure to live on. Currently, 55% of the Kashmir regions is controlled by India, where Pakistan controls 30% of it. And adding to that, the other 15% of the region is controlled by China. In this documentary on one of the world's most dangerous borderlands, we will look into the conflict of Kashmir. The historical aspect of the Kashmir conflict. To understand the conflict critically, first, we need to know about the history surrounding the region. India and Pakistan are the main disputing parties in this region. The two countries became independent in 1947 from the British. Before, the whole Indian subcontinent was ruled by the British for around 200 years. From the beginning of the World War II, it was a very challenging job for the British to control this region as they did before, and they had to bear more costs for the colonies rather than gaining profits. So, by August 1947, the British left India, and while leaving, two new nations emerged. One is the Republic of India and the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Led by the then Governor-General Louis Mountbatten, the British Empire divided and freed these two states. The British governed India by using smaller princely states. While the partition happened, these smaller states had the right to choose between India and Pakistan. Though geography is the key factor to develop borders, emotion played a big part here. The Hindu and secular leaders of the country were the ones who mainly supported the idea of India, and the Muslim leaders were the ones who supported the idea of a free Muslim majority state called Pakistan. So, the smaller states that had Hindu majority went to India, and the Muslim majority states went to Pakistan. But the case of Kashmir was different. While the ruler of the state was a Hindu, the majority of its population were Muslims. The ruler of Kashmir at that time was Maharaja Hari Singh, who mainly went for India. Hari Singh became the ruler of Kashmir in the year 1925 when 77% of the Kashmiri population were Muslims. However, a similar issue was raised in the state of Junagadh. While the state's ruler was a Muslim, the majority of its population were Hindus, and he wanted to accede to Pakistan while the people didn't want it. Though the British suggested the ruler of Junagadh to accede to India, he opposed the idea. But Junagadh was surrounded by India and had no connections with Pakistan geographically. For this reason, it was annexed by the Indian government. Currently, it is a city controlled and governed under the government of India. But this was not the case of Kashmir. Though majority of the Kashmiri population were Muslims, the British suggested that it should go to India. The reason was very simple. The general belief was that the ruler was Hindu and the population were Muslims. So, there might always be clash between the parties. But as India was a secular state, the British believed that the region would be better controlled by India. But as the final party to resolve the issue was the ruler Hari Singh himself, he decided that the region will be independent for some time, as both the Hindus or Muslims might get offended if he accedes to India or Pakistan. Still, Hari Singh was not able to control the situation. In some regions of the Kashmir region, riots took place against the decision of Hari Singh. Some tribesmen from the Pakistani side took took these riots as an opportunity to attempt the takeover of the city of Srinagar and plundered the region. In this situation, the rulers seek help from India against those tribesmen and ceded the region to India. This led to a war between the Indian armed forces and the tribesmen from Pakistan, which is regarded as the first Indo-Pakistan War during the timeline of 1947 to 1948. Later in 1948, the armed forces of Pakistan also joined the war. By the end of 1948, both of the armies solidified their positions in the region. A ceasefire agreement was done between the two parties where the LOC, or line of control, was established. India took control of almost 2/3 of the region, and the other 1/3 was under the control of Pakistan. This war was the basement of many upcoming wars between the two countries. Even after the establishment of the line of control, conflicts didn't stop. At that time, the United Nations played the role of the middleman to solve the crisis. It was the April 21st of the year 1948 when the Resolution 47 was passed by the Security Council. Based on the resolution, a 5-membered commission was approved by the United Nations, who went to the Indian subcontinent to resolve the conflict between the two countries. The aim of this commission was to bring peace in Kashmir. The commission aimed to convince these two countries to arrange a vote to decide on whether India or Pakistan will take over the state. The commission recommended a 3-step procedure to the countries for easing the tensions in the region. The steps would be: 1. All Pakistani nationals entering the region for collision shall be evacuated from Kashmir. 2. The gradual reduction of Indian troops from the region. 3. A referendum administrator had to be appointed by India, who would be nominated by the United Nations. Though India accepted the resolution made by the UN, Pakistan refused to accept it. In this situation, no agreement was done, and the situation remained the same. No referendum was held, and no troops were reduced from both ends. After that, in 1950, the Dixon Plan was initiated to resolve the issue. According to the plan, neither India nor Pakistan would retain troops in the region. This plan was also rejected by the parties. The significance of Kashmir is the primary reason why conflicts between the two countries started. It is the basement of the never-ending conflicts and loss of thousands of lives over the years. A question would rise to anyone's mind. That is, why is Kashmir so crucial to both Pakistan and India? To understand the reason, we need to understand 3 things first. They are: 1. The resources in Kashmir. 2. The geography of the region. 3. The national security of both of the countries. One of the most significant rivers in the subcontinent, Indus River, flows through the Kashmir region, which makes it highly important from a geopolitical perspective. For the agriculture of Pakistan, Indus River is a large provider of water resources. For this reason, getting hold on the Indus River is very crucial to Pakistan, as it is an integral part of Pakistani agriculture. In the lower Indus Valley region, Pakistan needs the supply of water from the Indus River more, as rainfall is really lower in this region. In the same way, India largely depends on the Indus River for irrigation, and in modern times, water supply of rivers can be controlled easily with proper infrastructure. The nation who has control over the water supply of Indus can have negative impacts on the water supply of the other. Neither Pakistan nor India will allow it. To solve this issue, an agreement was signed between the two countries in the year 1960. This agreement was called the Indus Water Treaty, signed on 19th of September in 1960. Under the Indus Water Treaty Agreement, India took control over the eastern tributaries of Ravi, Beas, and Sutlej. On the other hand, Pakistan took control over the western rivers of Chenab, Indus, and Jhelum. Though India got the larger portion of the lands, Pakistan got a position in the water battle. India got control over only 16% of the water flowed in the region, while Pakistan got 84% of the water. While this agreement is in place, Pakistan still has a risk that, during a potential conflict, India can cut off the water supply of the region, as Indus mainly flow through Indian-controlled side of Kashmir. One significant point to be noted here is, in the previous war situations between India and Pakistan, India never cut off the supply of water from Indus, but from the viewpoint of Pakistan, there will always be a possibility, which makes Kashmir highly vulnerable for their national agriculture. Also, the glaciers of the region are large sources of fresh water. Another significant issue that makes the Indus River very important to the people of Jammu and Kashmir is the need for electricity. One of the main sources of power in the region is hydroelectricity, and the Kashmiri rivers have great potential to produce hydroelectricity, and the Jammu and Kashmir population depends on this water resources for hydroelectricity. Though the region produces around 3,000 megawatts of electricity, it can produce more than 15,000 megawatts of power. For this reason, the Indian government makes Kashmir one of the priority states for the betterment of a country and people. Adding to that, the Kashmir region is a source of gold, oil, uranium, natural gas, and many other natural sources of energy. Because of this reason, not only India and Pakistan, also China has developed interests over the region with time. If we look into the geopolitical perspective, Kashmir is the region for India that connects the country to Central Asia, and Central Asia is the main connector between Europe and Asia. In simple words, Kashmir is the vital bridge that connects South Asia to Central Asia and then the whole world. It is a major player in the Belt and Road Initiative. From the perspective of Pakistan, Kashmir is the key to the economic corridor between Pakistan and China. The China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC, is the large-scale undertaking between the two nations that involve the establishment of transport network between the two countries for strengthening the economic stability of Pakistan. The Chinese government has taken enormous projects in Pakistan to resolve the economic crisis of Pakistan, and some crucial projects are run in the Pakistani-administered Kashmir. For Pakistan too, it is a pathway to connect with Central Asia and China. From the geographical perspective, it is the central region standing among India, China, and Pakistan for which this place is so important. Why is Kashmir so crucial to India? From the Indian perspective, Kashmir is fully owned by India, and Pakistan and China are claiming their territories illegally. The agreement made with Hari Singh for the accession of Kashmir is viewed as the legal document of Kashmir by the Indians. Previously said, it is the only route for India to connect with Central Asia through land. Another important factor for India is the Siachen Glacier that is located in the eastern Karakoram range of the Himalayas, just northeast of the NJ 9842 point. The NJ 9842 point is where the line of control between Pakistan and India ends. It is the second largest glacier in the nonpolar regions of the world and also the largest in Karakoram. This glacier is of significant value to the Indians as it is the only barrier between Pakistan and China in the border lines. If there is a conflict between India or one of those two armies, the armies of both Pakistan and China can combine their forces. That will be a great threat for India. In the year 1963, Pakistan gave away the control of Gilgit and Shaksgam Valley to China. This area was under the control of Pakistan-administered Kashmir before that. Indian military specialists claim that this was done by Pakistan to increase the presence of China in the borders of India, so that Pakistan could get an edge over India with their ally China's presence in the Kashmir region. Though India doesn't admit, this is a threatening factor to Indian security, and while China and Pakistan make stronger ties in the border region, its security has become more of an important factor to India. India and China have been in cold conflicts for years to become the next powerhouse of Asia. Also, as India shares bitter relations with China geographically, politically, and also ideologically, presence of China in the borders of Kashmir is not good news for India. So, gaining control over Kashmir region is a necessity for India for its national security. After the start of the state of Jammu and Kashmir, India had to deal with numerous terrorist attacks from outside forces and also from internal rebels. In 2001, the Parliament of India was attacked by terrorists who killed 6 policemen, 2 parliament security personnel, and 1 ordinary gardener. The Indian government directly accused 2 terrorist groups from Pakistan for this event. This is not the only incident happening in India which is connected to the India-Pakistan conflict. Over the years, India has faced a significant number of terrorist attacks from outside forces, which has always given fire to the Kashmir conflict more. Thousands of civilians have been killed due to this conflict, which has never brought peace for any side. As many of the terrorist groups connected to these attacks have camps in Pakistan, it is directly under the rage of Indian people. Kashmir from the Pakistani viewpoint. From the viewpoint of Pakistan, Kashmir surrendered to India by a king who didn't represent the people of the region. Also, during the partition, Muslim states were given to the Pakistanis and Hindu-majority states were given to India. Based on this logic, Pakistanis demand the rights of Kashmir as it is also a Muslim-majority state. While Kashmir is important to India for strategic reasons, it is also important to Pakistan for the same reason. The resources of Kashmir are more important for Pakistan. The economy of Pakistan is largely dependent on the rivers flowing through Kashmir. If India takes over Kashmir, it might paralyze the agricultural sector of Pakistan and create extreme food shortage. While it is a significant contributor to the economy of Pakistan, it is also a direct link between China and Pakistan. So, from a military perspective also, Kashmir is very important to Pakistan. As China is their allies, Pakistan needs to have a pathway with China if any future conflicts take place with India. Also, China and Pakistan have created a China-Pakistan economic corridor which also goes through Kashmir, and this link has created scope for many economic benefits for both the countries. So, Pakistan cannot give up on Kashmir so easily. Another factor is the border security of Pakistan. If India gains full control over the region, it will be able to send significant number of military personnel to the borders. This will be a high-risk factor for the national security of the country. While losing Kashmir would increase Indian military presence in the borders, also, it will cut off connection with their main allies. China. This will be a mass threat to the security of the cities of Pakistan. In simple words, Pakistan will lose against India before entering a fight if it loses Kashmir. The general view of Pakistani people is thus bitter against India. Also, they believe that the Muslims of Kashmir would get a better life if they join Pakistan. However, Pakistan is not a big region compared to the size of India. As the governments of Pakistan have been pressurized to make bigger defense budgets to protect Kashmir by the military, a portion of the ordinary people have criticized the government to use large portion of the budgets only in the protection of Kashmir rather than the betterment of the economy. While viewpoints differ, the Pakistani administration has always maintained the fact that Pakistan can never lose Kashmir, and they have their reasons behind it. Kashmir from the Kashmir perspective. While India and Pakistan both have their reasons to protect or control Kashmir, the perspective of the Kashmiris have been ignored the most. A significant number of people believe that the Maharaja Hari Singh surrendering Kashmir to India was unlawful as he didn't represent the majority of the region's people. Before partition took place, there were around 4 to 4.5 million people in Kashmir. Almost 3 million of these people were Muslims. Around 1 million were Hindu, and the remaining were Buddhists. Before the partition took place, the Kashmiris already became rebellious against the ruler Hari Singh. The leader of the movement was Sheikh Abdullah, who believed that the ruler Hari Singh was a danger to their religion. But the rebellion couldn't take much stronghold, and Abdullah became a secularist. Though the revolution couldn't take place, Abdullah maintained his power as a prominent leader of the region. But later on, Abdullah's relationship with the Pakistan Prime Minister Muhammad Ali Jinnah became bad. This led to Abdullah's becoming allies with the Indian leaders. And when Pakistani tribesmen started attacking India, Abdullah went to seek the help of Indian government to solve the situation. In this situation, 3 types of people were seen in the region. One group wanted a free Kashmir. The other 2 either wanted to join Pakistan or India. Abdullah was among the people who wanted to have an independent Kashmir. He started having meetings with foreign powers on how to get a fully independent Kashmir outside the control of India and Pakistan. His plan didn't work much. In the year 1953, Abdallah was arrested to plan conspiracy against India. In 1954, the Kashmiri Constituent Assembly approved the accession of India over Kashmir, but the Kashmiri people were now divided into two parts. Some wanted Pakistan and some wanted India. In the year 1965, Pakistan invaded Kashmir, which led to extreme warfare between India and Pakistan. This is also known as the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965. This conflict shattered the lives of thousands of people in Kashmir. This also created a rage among the ordinary people of Kashmir about Pakistan, as Pakistan initiated this war. From the initial phase of 1980s, propaganda increased in this region. As Muslims were the majority here, people from other religions were seen as spies. This was the results of spreading propaganda within the region. Some sources claim that this was done by the influence of some Middle Eastern nations. However, the result was bad. It was the start of violence in the region. The first big margin violence in the region was the evacuation of Hindus from Kashmir by a group of extremists. As they were minority in the region, they couldn't help the situation. Many Hindus were killed and temples were destroyed. Before this evacuation, around 600,000 Hindu people lived in the region. After this conflict, barely 2,000 Hindu were left in the region. The insurgency groups started to recruit children as soldiers to spread terrorism within the region. Situation got so worse that some people sold their assets only to weaponize themselves for conflicts. Four groups mixed in this situation, and conflict only increased with time. Insurgency groups who wanted free Kashmir, terrorists, Indian forces, and Pakistani forces. And this only made life worse for the people living in Kashmir. Increased violation of human rights, suppression of freedom, tortures, and sexual violence became common in the region. In recent times, the Indian government cut off all communications in Kashmir region and detained politicians from the region. Many took this as a violation of human rights, while the government claimed that they took protection measures for the region. In simple words, the situation of people in Kashmir is not well at all, and with the extreme presence of militants and armed forces, it would not improve. The last time tension rose between the two nations was on 2019. On 14th February, a Pakistan-based terrorist organization Jaish-e-Mohammed took away the lives of 40 members of the Central Reserve Police Force of India, though the Pakistani government denied the allegations of their involvement. In response to the attack, Indian jet fighters crossed the border lines, bombed the suspected stations of Jaish-e-Mohammed. In response to this, Pakistan conducted an airstrike on India. During this fight, Pakistan captured an Indian aircraft and its pilot. However, after negotiations, they returned the pilot with proper respect to India. In October of 2019, the Article 370 was revoked by the government of India. A special status was given to the Kashmir region based on the Article 370. A certain level of autonomy was given to Jammu and Kashmir based on this article. The state was allowed to have its own constitution, own laws, and even its own flag. However, the control of foreign affairs and military control was still under the Indian government. This law restricted Indians from other parts of the country to buy land or make houses in this state. Adding more to this, marrying someone from other states disables the right of a woman from all her property rights. However, the article was rewritten by the government in a few years. All the special rights are lost again. Now the whole region is broken down into smaller union territories. However, this decision of amending the article created controversies all around in India. A significant number of Indians stated this as a game played by the Modi government for running smoothly in their second term of power. So, the government increased military personnel in the area again. Internet was also cut off in the region at that time. The chief minister and other political leaders of the state were imprisoned. The entire region went under a lockdown immediately. Many human rights groups have raised complaints about human rights violations at the time. Pakistan stated it as an illegal step and suspended trade with India. This move by the Modi government has actually worsened the situation with the people in Kashmir. Kashmiris were infuriated by the actions of the government. As the government of India is currently run by Hindu nationalists, This created a harsher view against the government. However, India got support from a significant number of countries around the globe, but this again didn't help the Kashmiris' way of life. Future of the Kashmir conflict. Both of the countries, India and Pakistan, strongly believe that the region belongs to them. And if you see this from a neutral perspective, both sides have their rightful points, and you might curse the British for making such an imprudent border line in the first place. Also, both of the countries have strong reason to defend Kashmir. Over the years, Kashmiri people and soldiers from both sides have seen brutal consequences of the conflict. However, the current situation doesn't give much hope. If you look into the matter from an international point of view, India gets the upper hand for being the stronger economy and also the stronger military force. Over the years, the country has gained the support of many strong allies too. Most international powers are also on India's side when it comes to the Kashmir conflict. And in the near future too, India might get the support from every other nation except for direct rivals like China. Currently, India plans to create a channel of hydroelectricity through the Kashmir region, and the government is also focusing on the abundant natural resources within the region. So they have no reason to give up the region. And the current government takes the anti-Pakistani agenda to be an important part of their success in the future elections. So India will not in any circumstances leave Kashmir. Also, the economy of India has got so strong that it doesn't need any kind of stoppage in the Kashmir situation. And for Pakistan, Kashmir is important both for their national production and also their national security from Indian invasion. They also have a strong point to defend Kashmir. Though Pakistan is weaker militarily and economically, it is also a nuclear power, which makes things more complicated. Though the current Pakistan economy is in downfall, losing Kashmir will only add to the damage. A significant portion Indian and Pakistan population, however, wants to lower the loss of lives in the Kashmir region. While Kashmir has been on constant conflict for decades, the world political condition is getting worse with time. The Russian-Ukrainian situation, or the Palestine-Israeli situation, is not helping people from any sides of the world. If India and Pakistan go for more conflict, it would not only harm both of these countries, and also it will hurt the world.